Support the He podcast via a one-time donation, a monthly subscription from as low as $1, a lifetime membership, and purchase He's exclusive collection of merchandise. And for all other business inquiries at buymeacoffee.com/Rafi. Who is he? He is me. Hi, I'm Rafi Redzwan. This is he. Here is my chance to share some amazing stories with some amazing people that are inspiring to me. He celebrates everyday people of everyday life. He revolves around conversations that inspire others to change the world and make a difference in life, with a little bit of laughter and a whole lot of drama. Join me for personal stories and experiences on health and healing, successes and failures, recovery and discovery, anything relatable, and anything in between. He elevates us to rise again and live our very best life. Just so you know, you are not alone. He is with you. Okay, we're good? Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
All
yeah,
right,
we're
I
good.
think we're good. All right, we're
Yes.
gonna pretend like, hi, G, how are you? All over
Okay,
again.
okay. All right, all right.
Okay,
All
three.
right. Mm.
All right, ready, people in the studio? Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. 3, 2, 1. J.E. Howe nurtures the best in parents and children with learning differences. In this episode, he discusses with a speech pathologist, clinical director, and founder of Learn, Speak, and Grow, and dives into how parents can help build confidence and find joy in children with learning differences. She highlights the importance of intervention that empowers and encourages them to form connections and resiliency, to cultivate spaces for discovery, creativity, curiosity, and exploration. The key elements for parents are to acquire knowledge on skills and strategies for learning, teaching, and listening, for children to feel seen and heard, and be dynamically involved in the children's development. This is her story. Hi, G.
Hi, Rafi. How are
How are you
you?
doing?
I'm good, I'm
Good,
good.
good. Me too. I'm very good. I'm very good.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you with with me on the show and to talk
Yeah.
about speech therapy.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I do.
and you are a speech therapist
Yes.
of Learn, Speak, and Grow.
Mm-hmm.
And then today we will talk about how parents can help build confidence and finding joy in children with learning differences. I really like this conversation because, and I think I put the word learning differences here instead of learning disabilities.
Yeah.
I think they're just different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the right way to say it, or should I say politically correct, to say is learning differences. Is this term you use in your practice? Learning differences, or what do you
I
call them?
I call both. I can call it learning differences, which I tend to do.
Hmm.
Sometimes I think when you call it a learning disability, it sort of has that connotation of, like maybe they will not improve from it, but there are things that we can do to help our children, get better at learning.
Before we go through, I think we need to understand what does a speech therapist
Mm.
do?
For me, as a speech therapist, I work with children, but there are other speech therapists who work in other settings as well, like in
Mhm.
the hospital, and they work with adults, with after a stroke or after a brain injury, they might have an acquired language disorder. So that means that they might not remember what to name things or how to communicate, or they might have some difficulties communicating using those motor movements that are finer. So that's a lot more in the adult area. But for myself, I am focusing on working with children. And at the moment, I work with children with lots of different abilities. Of course, there are typically developing children who have a language delay, but then there are other children as well with other diagnoses like autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD,
Mhm.
and then there's GDD, which is global developmental delay. And then there's also other specific learning disorders like dyslexia, and then they also, some of them might have an intellectual disability. So people come here with different abilities and different needs, and
Mhm.
we provide services to all of them.
Mhm.
And for speech therapy, in this population, we work with lots of specific areas as well. For
Mhm.
example, clarity of speech. For example, a child might come in and they might not pronounce words correctly, and that affects the meaning of the words as well. And when they go out and communicate with others, they might find it hard to be understood, or they might find it really frustrating that they can't say what they want to say.
Mm.
And then there's also another area called pre-linguistic skills. So the word pre-linguistic skills come from, like, pre, which is before, and then linguistic comes from language. So before language even develops, there are a set of skills that our kids needs to be able to um, um, perform, so
Mhm.
that they are able to learn language more successfully. So, for example, to be able to respond to their name, when someone
Mhm.
tries to get their attention, are they able to turn around and look at the person? Are they able to imitate? So copying, whether it's actions and gestures and sounds. So if you think about how we learn, we as a child, when um, we're learning how to do new things, we learn by copying, and that's how it's like for a lot of children as well, and actually that's how it's like for all of us. And then there's also under pre-linguistic skills, there's also being able to share attention with another person. So if I were to point to like an aeroplane in the sky, can the child
Mhm.
also look together at the same thing?
Mm.
Will they also point and show me something else? So it's being able to show to share attention with your child, and that's actually so important. And these are the things that are often neglected,
Mhm.
or not put emphasis on when
Mhm.
parents come in and they tell me that their kids are not talking yet. Yeah, I look at these things first.
Right. Are
Yeah.
you able to diagnose these children or adults?
Yes, so for
Yeah.
these kids coming in, I diagnose within my area. So I can't diagnose a child who has dyslexia, for example.
Mhm.
Dyslexia is
Mhm.
difficulties with
Mhm.
spelling and reading. But for me, actually, that is within my practice to give them intervention for
Right.
that. Yeah. So
Right. Right.
diagnosis for dyslexia is done by a clinical psychologist.
Yes.
But for myself, I give diagnosis for speech difficulties,
Mhm.
maybe it's social skills difficulties and difficulties in pre-linguistic
Mhm.
skills, like I mentioned earlier. And then
Mhm.
there's like language delays, and that's why some kids are not speaking when they're already 5 years old. They're not saying as many words. So that is also another area that we do.
Do you work with doctors? If you are unable to diagnose something, and then say if a doctor would, diagnose this person first, and then do you work with doctors, or the doctors can refer them to you instead to go
Mm.
through these therapies?
Yeah, definitely work with, I would say, pediatricians. They are,
Mm-hmm.
because of the population that I work with, I do get referrals from pediatricians or developmental pediatricians. So,
Mm-hmm.
developmental pediatricians actually look at the young children's development, and they will flag it to parents if they see anything that is of concern, and they would recommend for them to get therapy, whether it's in occupational therapy or speech therapy or others. Yeah.
And what has led you to be on this journey?
After high school, I was still wondering, what I wanted to do with my career and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I started with like an elimination process of what I didn't like to do or I wasn't good at doing at school. The subjects that I was interested in, was more towards like biology and language. So um, at that point I still wasn't sure, but I thankfully have an auntie who is a pediatrician also, and she
Mm.
spoke to me and she said, I think you might like this because you have indicated that you like to work with people and you want to work in healthcare as well. So I went to shadow a speech therapist at her hospital, and then I saw the work that she did and meaningful to me.
Mm.
And I could really see myself wanting to work towards becoming a speech therapist. So
Yes.
yeah, I just enrolled and I went for it.
Yeah.
And when I um, graduated, I worked in Australia because I completed my studies there. And
Yeah.
then it was only in 2021 that I returned to Malaysia, and I worked here for a bit to understand what the scene is like here for healthcare
Mhm.
and for speech therapy.
Mhm.
And with my parents' encouragement and financial support,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, then I was able to
Yes.
start a center of my own and do. I guess for me, maybe the key reason for me wanting to start this is also because I have a lot of beliefs that I feel I wasn't able to, properly execute, or I didn't feel like I had the freedom to do certain things, or set things up the way I wanted. And now at my center, I can say that I am able to, you know, advocate fully and
Mm.
dedicate my resources and my time to, yeah, fully supporting the things that I believe in, yeah, within my practice.
I'm a parent myself.
Yeah.
I suffer from ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was undiagnosed for so long. So I think
Mm-hmm.
when I was diagnosed with adult ADHD. I went to get treatment for it, and then I
Mm-hmm.
went for therapy, and
Mm-hmm.
then I'm off the medication. I'm
Mm.
doing so well now, and I believe in it. I believe in it. So
Yeah.
when my son was born,
Mm-hmm.
because we're so exposed to this sort of information now,
Yeah.
and you tend to like see if there's anything that we need to focus on, because I think in the past, perhaps 30 years ago, 20 years ago,
Mm.
especially here in Malaysia,
Mm-hmm.
um, we tend to take things for granted and be like, that's okay, you know.
Mm.
But sometimes it is something that we it's something that they progress along the time. But
Mm-hmm.
some children may experience
Mm-hmm.
issues that they need to be diagnosed and get treatment, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for parents to, be responsible in that sense, to see these things in their children
Yeah. Yeah.
and then be there for them if you can. So
Yeah.
that would be, I think, you know, uh, because children wouldn't know what they have,
Mm. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
until we spot them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how can parents help build confidence in children, especially children with learning differences?
Mm. I think I really understand where you're coming from when you ask that question.
Hmm.
You know, for a lot of parents, they might not fully um, know or are aware of when their children are struggling, or they don't know what is normal, especially for first-time parents. And I think that's why it's so important to build awareness in the society in general. But I think also for parents to have lots of conversation with fellow parents, or those who have like older children, so that they can speak to them and find out what is if my kids are struggling to sit and participate in school, or join in class, or join in group activities. They are
Hmm.
struggling to follow lessons at school, or struggling to read or write. Then as parents, we really should be more aware of these things.
Hmm.
We need to pay more attention, and we need to spend more time with our children. And when we see these things, we have
Hmm.
questions, And I think the best thing to do is really to go and talk to a professional. It can be just a
Mhm.
consultation to speak to them and find out if this is normal, if there's anything that I should be addressing, or it could just be a session to rule out that my child indeed does not have any difficulties, and this is just a normal part of the growing process, because we know as children, right? We can't expect a very young child to be able to pay attention for long. But
Mhm.
to a certain extent as well, we need them to pay attention and pick up on the things that we're giving them. We're exposing them to. For example, if we're teaching something at home, we want them to be able to sit long enough to be able to hear and pick up on those words or those new knowledge that we're sharing. So
Yeah.
as parents, right, we really need to I guess, be aware of any difficulties that our child might be facing, and see a professional. So,
Yeah.
for example, I think a lot of kids will be thinking, "Oh, I have to bring my child to a doctor," but they
Mhm.
don't know what doctor, right?
Mhm.
It can be a pediatrician, yes, a developmental pediatrician, even better. But the queues are long in Malaysia at the moment, and
Mhm.
they can also bring their kids to see a clinical psychologist,
Yeah.
who will be able to also similarly give a diagnosis if it's a child who has
Mm.
a suspected ADHD or suspected autism,
Mhm.
suspected delays in his learning. Then that's where the clinical psychologist will come in and give their opinion and do an assessment.
Mhm.
But also, moving on from that, the therapy, the intervention, so that they
Mhm.
can get started with learning, or get started picking up on the skills that they have missed, or they are a little bit behind. That's
Mhm.
where the speech therapists come in, the occupational therapists come in, and they identify the specific areas, and they specifically set goals to address them, and
Yeah.
all of this should be done in partnership with parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think intervention is very important here because if I didn't, when I was younger, I know that I was late. I was very late.
Mm, mm,
And I look at my brother, he excel,
mm.
all the way until, I saw myself like, why? Why I didn't know, like, I had issues with organizing. I had issues with understanding what's, on the board, what is
Yes.
being taught and
Yeah.
everything. I knew I was late, but then my father saw that
Mm-hmm.
and got me a special teacher
Mm-hmm.
to focus on me, and then I
Yeah.
excel. I
Yeah.
succeeded. I succeeded from, say, I fail in maths, and
Yeah.
and ever since I got special class, I got A until I graduated. So
Yeah.
basically, I think intervention is the key word here. If you ignore it and be like it's
Mm-hmm.
just a phase, it's
Yeah.
just a phase. I think no one can really project themselves
Yeah.
to become better
I
and
think
becoming better and better.
you're right, because not every child is the same. There are
Yeah.
certain children who can develop even without much guidance, but
Mhm.
not everyone is the same, like you mentioned, right? If a
Mm,
child actually has ADHD, then
mm,
focus will be a huge problem for them, and they might special accommodations, whether it's
mm,
regular breaks in between, or special extra learning supports. Like, for example, some people can do well just hearing from the instructions verbally, but some
mhm,
might need some extra supports, like some visual, some pictures, and some instructions will help them to process things better. So
mhm.
that's when as professionals, we give the proper recommendations, we create the supports, we talk to school teachers if the school allow.
Yeah.
At the
Yes.
moment,
Yeah.
there is this struggle sometimes for us. It's because the schools don't really welcome that kind of support from us.
Yeah.
So kids are struggling to, I guess, thrive in school. But also, I think for us as professionals, when we do our assessments, we actually can see the specific needs and how we can compare them to children their age, or children, their peers, and then we can, start to put them on the right path, set the
Mm-hmm.
specific goals, and when we give all the right supports to children,
Mm-hmm.
they start to learn and they start to achieve success. So they
Mm-hmm.
feel like, yes, I'm finally on the right path. I am moving on this path.
Mm-hmm.
And when they succeed, they feel like it's internally rewarding,
Mm-hmm.
and they really will start to take pride in their work. And it's
Yes.
just like, yeah, my
Yes.
kids in
Yes.
my session, they want their pictures
Yes.
taken. They want to show their daddies and their mommies, okay,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they have accomplished something. and
Yes.
and this is when the confidence start to build. It's not from just forcing and telling them to excel, but it's more so, how do we support so that
Mm-mm.
they know that they can now achieve, and they are on the way to achieving greater things. And for
Mm-hmm.
us as parents, our role is also to acknowledge their efforts. For a normal
Yeah.
child, right? A normal child might be able to achieve this thing very easily, but please understand that your special needs child, it's actually a lot of effort. It's very exhausting, okay, for them to continuously put in this amount of hard work, okay, to get this
Yeah.
success. So we
Yes.
need to praise, we need to celebrate their success, right? And then for parents as well, we need to collaborate and be more proactive in our therapy sessions, so that
Mm-hmm.
at home you know how to carry over the new things that your kids have learned, and continue to support, because our kids, right, sometimes with special needs, they cannot retain the information just from one input. They need the regular practice throughout the week, and then
Mm-hmm.
they'll get better at the skills. So parents actually need to be on board with that. And
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
next and final thing is actually for parents to know what their kids like and what their interests are, because right, our kids sometimes, earlier when I mentioned internally rewarding things
Yeah.
from your sense of achievement, that
Yeah.
is really strong and powerful. But sometimes our kids will forget, forget
Yeah.
that they can achieve those things. That's why we have our pictures to show them again. When we
Uh-huh.
take those videos of them succeeding, we show them again, look, remember, you can do this. But also, in addition to that, when we incorporate their interest into learning, for example, if I'm going to teach my child to
Mm-hmm.
take turns, or to ask for things politely instead of snatching, then maybe I might do a Lego activity at home. You have Lego lying around at home, and then you tell your child, hey, look, let's build a house, okay, but we're going to take turns building. And, mommy's going to hold all the bricks here. You're going to
Yeah.
have to practice asking me, you know, and then, we can also add in other learning opportunities, like we can teach them concepts of, tall. We're going to build a tall
Mm-hmm.
tower, and then, whether it's tall and short, oh, wait, let's put this brick at the bottom, let's put this brick on top. We can always also teach them, colors and numbers,
Mm.
through play, right? Through their
Yeah. Yeah.
interests and activities that they like to do, we are actually teaching them. So actually, it's you don't need to spend so much effort trying to get their attention, because they
Mm-hmm.
already like this activity.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
at this age, I still like that reward. Internal
Yeah.
reward. I
Yes.
so I can
Yes.
understand that why children, because I'm still a kid.
Yeah.
To me, I'm still a kid. So when I was listening to that, I'm like, ah, I know what it
Yeah.
feels to be rewarded. That you're gonna do okay. You are doing good. This is
Yes.
what you have done. Look at it. You should pat yourself in the back,
Yes,
sort
yes,
of thing.
exactly. And actually,
Yeah.
we all run on rewards, because,
Yeah. Yeah.
why do you think adults work?
Exactly. I like that. I like that we all run we all run on rewards. That's what we
Yeah,
are. We do
yeah,
run on rewards. I think
yes,
it's important to reward ourselves sometimes and
yes.
just know that how much you're worth.
Yeah, even for myself in the job that I do, I find it so rewarding, right?
Mm,
But I
mm-mm.
feel so tired as well. So,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
is my
yeah,
reward? My reward
yeah.
is that I get to earn.
Yes. Like you, at this point in my life, I
Yeah.
don't, I don't get to earn with what I do. So
But maybe
this
it's
is,
internally rewarding still.
but that the internal reward is
Yeah.
it will die soon. I don't get to monetize it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, if it's not, you get exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you experience this with children? Like, do they
Yes.
get exhausted when they don't feel like they're being rewarded
Of course. Of
for the
course.
achievement that they get?
It's very clear because on their faces, they have tried so hard, but if we are not acknowledging that they have tried, even though yes, after trying so many times they still make
Mm.
mistakes, is
Mm.
it time for us to take a break first? And then is it
Yeah.
time for us to go and have a little play? And for adults, it's maybe like treat ourselves with a nice little beverage, or like a little snack. That's the same for kids. How can we expect them to have that kind of stamina and endurance
Mm.
to keep going, right?
Mm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so how
Mm.
can anyone, we the children or adults with special needs, can benefit from this therapy?
When I see new clients, it's first of all building a relationship with them and understanding what they want to achieve from this. And I guess for if you're talking about working with adults, I don't see that as I'm gonna help you. It's
Mm-hmm.
more so a partnership relationship. This is what you
Mm.
indicated that you want to achieve. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah,
You have a bigger goal in the future, and maybe that's to get a job. Okay, but
yeah.
at the moment, from my assessment, we are here and we have all this, all these things that we need to achieve in order to get to our final goal. So this is again something that you want, and I'm gonna help you get there. You have to want it equally, right? So it's gonna be a partnership model for adults, and for kids as well. If they're older and they're able to understand this is what I
Mm-hmm.
will do as well. I want them to take ownership of their own learning and their progress. Yeah, but
Yeah.
for adults, it's a good question that you ask, because there are adults out there who also
Mm.
have diagnosis. Children with diagnosis grow up as
Mm.
adults with diagnosis, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And they have their sets of struggles. When they go
Mm.
out, they might find it hard to, communicate with others. For example, if they, adults with autism, they might
Mm-hmm.
struggle to talk to other people. Maybe it's going to Subway and ordering a sandwich. That's
Mm-hmm.
actually really stressful, even for myself.
Mm.
But what more
Mm-hmm.
for them? Do
Yeah,
they
yeah,
know
yeah.
what to say? Do they know that
Yeah,
they
simple
yeah,
things. Yeah, it
yeah,
looks simple. It looks simple, as if going to the counter and just, I want Italian bread, six
yeah,
inch, and then I
yeah,
want lettuce toasted with cheese. It's a lot.
yeah.
It's actually a lot. You need to
Yes,
know. And then with all these servers, sometimes they don't care.
yeah,
They only do what you tell them to do,
yeah. They don't
right?
really understand as
No,
well.
they don't understand. So they look at you like you don't know what to order.
Yeah.
Are you whatever? So it is very stressful
Yes,
to go there.
and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
us,
yeah,
even it's so
yeah.
overwhelming, right? Can you imagine
Yes,
for maybe a child or an adult with
adult.
autism, okay,
Yes, yeah.
who is easily overwhelmed, okay,
Mm-hmm,
having all this information, just presented in front of them, and they have to make a choice, okay,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
it can be so overly stimulating. So
mm-hmm.
for a lot of adults, going out to order or going out even to the shops to ask for, maybe where can you find the Thousand Island sauce? Okay,
Uh-huh.
ah, those are simple things that we as maybe um, adults who are able to function better take for
Mm-hmm.
granted. For them, it's also the courage, of going up to a
Yeah,
stranger, and
yeah,
also thinking about what they should be saying to them. How can I frame my question? How do I ask for directions? Do I understand the directions, even if it's an adult who later on realize that actually they might have a language delay as well, you
yeah.
know so processing all this information is so difficult, and that's when sometimes even I would say adolescents or young
Yeah.
adults will come in, and the parents might share with us that their kids are
Yeah.
struggling with these things, or
Yeah.
even making friends. Making friends can be so stressful, and going into
Mm-hmm.
college when people are a bit more cliquey and stuff. It's hard to fit
Yeah.
in. Children who might come in
Mm-hmm.
to my center, they present with all kinds of difficulties, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have social skills difficulties, or some kids might not even be able to talk. They are not speaking, and maybe they have a diagnosis of autism. And we have to understand from their perspective. And actually a lot of autistic individuals, as adults, have later voiced out that actually maybe communication through verbal language is not their preferred method of communication. They
Mm-hmm.
would much rather maybe point to show you, or use
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, or use a
That's
speech
my son.
generating device. Yeah,
My
yeah,
son does that. When he wants to eat for breakfast, instead of
yes,
asking daddy, can I eat bread or
yeah,
cereal, he took his drawing board,
yeah,
he write it down.
yeah, yes,
I know
exactly.
he's showing me his skills that he knows how to write and he knows how
Yeah,
to read and whatever. But I think I told him why don't you ask? Because
yeah,
it takes a lot more effort to go
yeah,
downstairs and pick the board and write
yeah,
it out. And then, or he will take the loaf of bread upstairs
yeah,
and be like, and throw it to me.
yeah, yeah,
It's a way of saying I'm hungry. I want to eat.
exactly.
Can?
So it's not that
Oh,
they don't know how to say it.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, because they have said it before. And sometimes it's maybe they don't prefer to communicate that
Mm,
way. And actually
mm-mm,
we actually have to learn, not just we, everybody have to learn
mm,
that
mm, mm,
there are people out there who prefer to communicate
mm,
differently, and
mm.
we accept all forms of communication.
Yes,
Yeah,
wonderful. Well
yeah,
said. I love it.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
Wow, well said, well said. And speaking of autism, just a quick
yeah.
one. There are so many spectrum of autism. I
Mm-mm,
have met adult with autism that function
mm-hmm.
normally like me.
Yeah.
They do, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
do they require therapy too? How are they different from the severe? Well, I wouldn't say severe. Like, how would we know that? I mean, as an adult, for me, like I do have all these issues. Like when I read and as I go deeper into this
Mm-hmm,
subject matter, for example, autism, there's
mm-hmm,
so many spectrum. I can fall into this category, but am I really autism, for example?
mm-hmm.
Although I'm not, but I'm just saying, but I can fall into it because whenever we read something on social media, it's like, hey, that's me. It's like literally everything is you.
Yeah.
So, how does the assessment work for you?
So it's a very good question, because for me, even though I see a lot of individuals, autistic individuals,
Mhm.
I don't do the diagnosis. You see,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
diagnosis is done by a developmental pediatrician.
Mm.
If it's a child, or for adults, maybe I think the tendency is to see a psychologist, a clinical psychologist, who might provide a diagnosis like that, for autism, or ADHD, or any kind of learning difficulties like dyslexia. A lot of adults end up, realizing in adulthood that they have dyslexia. So I would say that is the job of uh, a, a pediatrician if it's for children,
Mhm.
clinical psychologist also,
Mhm.
but for adults, maybe yeah, it's a clinical psychologist who might give a diagnosis like that.
You know why this conversation is so important to me?
Yeah.
People like me, and then most people that I know who experience all the things and let it be undiagnosed,
Mm-mm.
they tend to get depressed.
Mm.
They tend to do risky behaviors.
Yeah, I think
You know
yeah,
what I mean? They
I
start to get
know.
involved with drugs, alcohol,
Yes,
substances like cigarette, and
yes,
do stuff they're not supposed to because all of these things are being ignored when they're supposed to pay attention to.
yes,
Am I right?
yes. You're right. You know what it is? It's about children who have these difficulties growing up, struggling throughout their life, and
Mm.
finally in adulthood, they have enough awareness to start
Mm-hmm.
questioning themselves. Why am I so different from the others?
Yeah.
What is wrong with me?
Yes.
Why is it that
Yes.
other people can achieve such an easy thing, but for me it's so hard to stay on track and complete this thing, you know
Exactly.
and they start to have that. But for a lot of adults as well, they have expressed or shared that when they finally get this diagnosis, it's such a huge relief. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
finally know why there is a name to
Yes.
this, and I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
I'm not alone. There are so many
Uh,
adults out there who also struggle with this thing. Yeah.
And again, it's not about labeling, kan? When you
No.
diagnose someone, when it's time to being diagnosed, when it's a proper diagnosis, it's not something that we do it for fun. Am I right?
No.
As a
No.
therapist, as a physician, as a psychiatrist, pediatrician, they
Mm-mm.
don't diagnose someone for fun so that
Yeah.
they can sell their services.
No, no, no. It's
No, right?
yeah, it's a label that will stay with you
Yes. Stay
until,
with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is not something that is given so easily.
Yes.
And of course, there are different reactions to this,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
adults,
Yeah.
knowing this is like, oh, it can be really depressing, and
Mm-hmm.
suddenly realize that, you know this is, you start to wonder
Mm-mm.
again, wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
what have I been doing my whole life?
Yeah.
But for some, it's the beginning of getting the proper and specific supports that they
Mm-hmm.
need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking about this, obviously there are barriers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what are the barriers you realize most parents and perhaps adult with learning disabilities or differences are struggling with?
Mm. I would say, like what we mentioned earlier, the awareness. Okay,
Hmm.
the barrier is that we don't. I guess there isn't enough awareness for even adults and parents to know about these diagnoses and what they look like.
Hmm.
Okay, and that's why this podcast is so important. I'm here because I actually, in my heart, I want to raise awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also acceptance, like what we mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah.
Acceptance and knowing that I guess it's time for me to accept that this is me or this is my child. Now moving
Yeah.
on to the next step is to seek support and seek help so that my child doesn't start to lose confidence, doesn't start to fall behind, and start to think that learning is such a difficult thing, so impossible, right?
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
getting it really early on, okay, so that when we give the support, it's at the right time. And our kids might not perform like excellent, but they are on track, and they're able to follow, and follow in the syllabus,
Hmm.
and keep going.
Hmm.
And I think another barrier that a lot of parents are facing is also, let's face it, financial support.
Yes.
Therapies are very expensive.
Hmm.
And we do regular weekly sessions most of the time,
Hmm.
and that can come up to a few $100. Okay,
Hmm.
so that's a lot of money for
Hmm.
parents to fork out every month. So there are out there, organizations out there that can maybe
Help support.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
there will be out there.
Wow.
Not there will be, I think there are out there, but I think
Uh-huh.
at the moment they are very limited as well,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
tend to
Yeah.
allocate that to those who have higher needs.
Yes. Okay.
And that's why it's not so readily accessible
Yeah.
to maybe a normal parent. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then another barrier that I think parents will come to me and share is that they don't have enough time to spend with
Mm.
their children. Whether it's a stay-at-home mom who needs to
Hmm.
take care of many of their
Hmm.
other children. They have many
Yeah.
children. Some
Yeah.
very young, some have additional needs as well. So how do we divide the attention, right? So
Hmm.
I think time is so important, but I think
Yeah.
still it's something that we cannot neglect. We need to really make sure that we're spending time talking to our children, finding out what's wrong.
Hmm.
When we talk with them, we realize that, oh, I think my child might be struggling with this. Then
Hmm.
we can get the appropriate help for them.
Yeah. I
Mm.
think if you decide to neglect it,
Mm.
your outcome for the future will be
Mm.
jeopardized. I think.
Yes.
I think it will
Yes.
jeopardize at some point, one way or another. It will show up
Yes. It.
eventually. It eventually will show up, and then it would create chaos and
Yes.
you know
When
many
it.
other issues and problems in life later
Do
in
you
life.
do you know what? When it finally shows up, it's at
Mm.
actually the point where it's really quite severe already.
Hmm. Mm.
Because our kids
It is.
who's
It is.
yeah,
It
yeah,
is.
yeah.
You're talking to me. It
Yeah,
happened to me during my marriage.
yeah. So
Because of
it's
that, I need,
yeah.
we could have gotten a divorce or
Mm,
whatever.
yeah.
Because it happened during that time, the most difficult time of your life. It
Mm,
shows up. It shows up, and it will make it more difficult.
yes.
I know it's
So,
not too late, but
mm-mm,
it would just make it more difficult. It takes more time to
correct.
really reshape yourself.
Correct, correct. If you start young, okay, and there are things that we can address and help from a young age, then
Yeah.
we do that so that the gap or the you know for some people it's the learning gap at school for some
Hmm.
people, okay,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if you start early and you identify that, oh, these are the things we need to catch up, but okay, we are only a little bit behind. But what if parents don't start early? If they don't do early intervention, they wait until the child is already 7 years old, getting ready for school. Everyone is
Hmm.
writing, their sentences, bina,
Mm.
ayat, okay? But your
Hmm.
child doesn't know how to spell, doesn't even know how to
Mm.
form a letter A or B. Oh no,
Mm-mm.
don't you think you're too late already? Not too
Yeah.
late, but
Yeah.
the gap is so big for them to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's late for them, and they will not be able to catch up as soon as they should.
Correct,
And
correct.
then once their friends at their within their age are three steps ahead,
Yeah.
or
And
maybe
then
six or ten, and they're just far behind.
exactly. And don't you think your child knows at that
Yeah.
point? By that point, your child already has that sense of self awareness when they look around at their friends who can do their work, but
Mm.
he is looking at his own work and he doesn't know what all this even means and how to
Yeah.
even begin completing this work.
Yes.
That is when the school starts to voice out to parents, your child doesn't do
Yes.
homework, your child is
Yeah.
just playing in class, doesn't know how
Yeah.
to sit still. Do you
Yeah.
know why he doesn't know how to sit still or doesn't want to sit still? He doesn't know what's going on.
Exactly. And it's not just the face anymore. It's
Yeah.
not just the face. If it's dragging for too long, I think if it's a one-time mistake or something that they learn over time,
Mm.
that could be a phase. But sometimes that is repeatedly an offense
Mm-mm.
for many years, especially because we
Yeah.
tend to treat that as a phase when it's not.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
teachers in school, even in public school, although our public education system is as good as it is, it may not be
Mm-mm.
as perfect, but I
Mm-hmm.
think they will tell parents that your children are
Yes.
having issues. I know that for
Yes.
sure. So when they already tell you, it says something that if
Yeah.
you ignore it, then I guess it would jeopardize
Yeah.
their futures and your future as parents.
Correct, correct. This has a long term consequence onto you,
Yes.
parents, because, right,
Yes.
when your kids are older as a teenager, what
Mhm.
school is going to take them?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is what a lot of parents are struggling with. And then after that, independence, if a child still doesn't know how to do those very basic
Mhm.
things, how can they go outside and be independent?
Yes, because
Mm.
JE,
Mm.
this is something we can help to
We start early.
yes, something you can help to redo it,
Yeah, yeah.
make yourself better. It's not something that you're born with.
We
No,
want,
no, no.
yeah.
Like if you're born with disabilities, this is your
Yes.
limit. That's
Yeah.
it's who you are.
Mm.
Something you have to accept. But something you can improve and make it better,
Yeah, we try our
that is something
best.
you shouldn't ignore. Exactly.
Yes, we
Yeah.
try our
Yeah.
best to close the gap, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah.
So that is what we most people take things for granted.
Yeah, yeah.
Is we
It's
think it's just a phase, and I think we should focus on. I mean, as a parent, I I I mean, I'm not that perfect of a parent, but
mm-mm.
I will look into it because I know the impact that it does to me.
Yeah.
Now that also that is given, provided that my dad has given me all that, but
Mm.
still I still experience.
Yeah.
So what if I wasn't given attention at all? I think that the point that you brought up is very crucial to this conversation.
Yeah.
It's so
Yes.
crucial that we want to acknowledge these barriers, but at the same time, how can we harness joy in learning for especially parents and children?
Mm, yeah. So I think for that, um, it's to celebrate small successes. If your
Okay.
child is achieving something, we really make sure that we let them know that whatever that they're doing is seen. Please, keep doing that because you're doing so well.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to joy and learning, like what we said earlier, it's about incorporating some of their interests as well, and to even just to make our everyday mundane things fun. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, it can be going to, um, like go grocery shopping, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can make it fun by saying, okay, I want you to, like, you can play a game of I Spy and say, oh, I spy um, uh, um, vegetables that are purple in color. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's making it fun. But it's also at the same time for parents who are always on like a time crunch, it's doing what they regularly do already, grocery shopping,
Mm-hmm.
but just spice things up, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and it can be also be like bath time, or like dressing up time, or like during car rides on a road trip when like parents are driving, maybe like daddy can say that, oh, I spy something that is like red, or maybe it's a signboard, so just spicing things up,
Mhm.
so that yeah, there's every opportunity to make things fun.
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, that involves a
Keeping
bit
it
of
fun.
yes,
Yeah. Sorry.
involves a bit of creativity also.
Yes, yes.
Not so easy.
So it's not so strict or just
Correct.
restricted to something so boring, but
Yeah.
it's interesting at the same time. You
Yes.
learn and you also have fun throughout the
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Yes, actually
Okay.
a lot of the times it can be what, cooking,
Yeah, yeah,
getting our
yeah.
kids in the kitchen to help prep for simple things, maybe it's stirring the pot, maybe
Yeah.
it's like using a safe knife to like chop up some
Hmm.
cucumber, or it's like tearing up the mushrooms,
Hmm.
just helping out at home, and or
Mm.
maybe doing some house chores,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
taking in the laundry and all that. Yeah, that's actually quite fun to involve our children as
Yeah,
well.
true. And all
Mm-mm.
these tools, I think they really help children grow.
Correct, correct.
All these tools that you just mentioned,
Mm.
and then now you have YouTube
Mm.
videos, the
Yes.
educational ones. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Put aside the ones that are not as good, but the ones that are very educational, they learn quickly from, because it's the tools that they provide in that show. For example, it's something that they get it right,
Mm, mm.
right on the dot.
Yeah.
They know what it means by just showing what the word means, but without giving, the word
Yes.
explanation. They know how to use it. Like my son recently used the word sick, sick, not
Uh-huh.
sick as being sick or fever.
Yeah.
Sick like wow, there's a lot of houses here. That's sick.
Yes.
Oh,
Internet
he must have
slangs.
learned it on YouTube
Yes.
because that's not a word I use.
Yes.
I would say that's cool or it's really interesting.
Yes, but
Something
that's,
more formal, but
yes.
that's sick with
Yeah.
that intonation.
We're already outdated, okay?
Oh, that's sick. I'm like, oh. And then he was in the car. He was in the car. I was driving a little bit, not so fast, but it was fast to him.
Yeah.
And a corner, and he was going around in the car with his seatbelt. And then once I stopped the car and got to the car park, and he's like, Daddy, I'm dizzy. I have car sick.
Oh.
Oh, I'm car sick or something. But
Yeah.
wow, where
Yeah.
did he learn all his car sick? Sick,
Yeah.
sick,
Yes, exactly. So this shows
all
us
these
that our
tools.
kids
Yeah,
are
yeah.
always listening. always
Yes.
learning from
Yeah.
their environment. So
Yeah.
why don't we give them a very rich environment, but also we be mindful of the
Yeah.
kind of environment that we're exposing to our children, right? So
Yeah.
that they are learning the things that they should be learning,
Yeah.
and whatever that is not very nice to learn, violence and all that, we better, be careful, because that's how they learn. They are very quick at absorbing, like a sponge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Very well. Well said, G.
mm,
Now, I think you have shared some of your advice,
mm,
throughout the conversation, but what is really your one advice to parents with children who experience difficulties in learning?
mm. I would say it's really to, yeah, mm, be with them every step of the way.
Mhm.
Find out really from the therapist what recommendations they can give, okay, so that parents know how to handle when their kids are struggling, what kind of specific supports has worked for my child, okay, and
Mhm.
to share all these recommendations to the school as well. It's not just at home, not just in therapy center, it's also out at school where the learning takes place the most, right? the
Mhm.
the, the teachers have to, be on board, and if the teachers are not really on board, the parents can you push and, maybe inform, or, have a talk with the teacher to let them know, hey, look, specifically my child struggles with this, you know if it when it comes to this, maybe can you, maybe give me more, maybe additional things that I can do at home. Or of course it's quite, it's how do I say this, for a lot of teachers, they are also taking care of the whole class, right?
Mhm.
But I think sometimes, this specific attention to that child might be hard to give. But, maybe as parents, we take initiative. We find out a bit more about what our children are learning. Maybe
Mhm.
we reinforce that learning at home, so that, with repeated practice and
Yeah.
clearer, more explicit explanations to our children, they are able to get, um, the learning, most out of the learning, that's from school. Yeah.
Now, before we end the conversation, what are your hopes and dreams?
Mm. For me, because like I'm in this profession, I just see so many things, like from children growing up into, entering primary school, secondary school, and, college, or even into adulthood. I see that there are just so many places that are not yet ready to accept, um, children with learning differences.
Mhm.
Not just not ready, but they are not, I guess, not equipped with the, um, ability to handle, or they don't have staff who know how to manage or deal with, or even
Mhm.
help accommodate, um, people with special, needs. Okay,
Yeah.
so for example, at school, okay, um, definitely it's my hope that, teachers, or even just in general staff or educators at school, are more willing to be trained up, I guess, or to take initiative to learn more about how to support, our students with special needs, giving teachers, some, advice, specific advice on what they can do, resources for them to do, practice outside of, school time. Um, but for workplaces as well, we're thinking these children will eventually grow up to become adults, who we hopefully, who we hope can, get a job of themselves and learn to support themselves, right?
Mhm.
So that means that workplaces have to become more accepting, and, also be willing to, uh, put up, set up some accommodations, to, help these, special needs adults, um, become independent and earn their way of living.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just employers, it's also the staff, who are working there. How can they be, a supportive, a partner,
Yeah.
for a fellow colleague like that? Yeah.
Yes. Well said, well said.
Yeah.
Ji, thank you so much for sharing your stories with me.
Yeah.
And I think
Thank
you're
you
an
so much for having
inspiration.
me.
You're an inspiration. You're an inspiration to me. I think you're doing such a wonderful, you know, work, and I hope you cause in this towards this awareness to help
Yeah.
people around us will flourish one day. I
Yeah.
wish you
Thank
all
you
the
so
best.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really am hopeful that this will go out to many more.
Yeah,
And yeah. That
I hope so
our
too.
yes, yes.
I hope we both grow to
Yeah.
a stage or a place where we want to be, and at the
Yes.
same time keeping ourselves sane,
Yeah.
at peace, and calm, and with
Yes.
with all this abundance in life that life has to
Yes.
offer. I
Yes.
think that's
And
important.
take care of ourselves as well.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yes. Take care of
Yes.
yourself, and something we also neglect. We tend to work so hard on something. Sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves.
Yes. Yes. I
Yeah,
think as parents,
emotionally. Yeah,
parents need to take care of themselves if they're caring for
true.
children with special needs.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree.
Mm.
Thank you so much, G.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you for listening to He. A new episode is available every Thursday, and don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear from you. Follow me on social media at Rafi Ridzwan and at He Podcast for all the updates and behind the scenes. Once again, thank you for listening to He with Rafi Ridzwan.